Hello guys, how are you doing? Yes, this is your Dr. Mantari Shiva. In this video, we are going to cover the previous year questions of NEET from the chapter Laws of Motion. This is the part 2 of this chapter. Now, in this video, we are going to cover mostly the law of conservation of momentum and friction. So, before getting into the questions, let us try to have overlook about these two concepts. Okay. Now, what is the law of conservation of momentum? Basically, if you take there is a body of mass m, and now on this guy, let us say there are forces acting on it. Let us say F1, F2, F3, and so on, or maybe more number of forces like that. So because of all these forces, so we'll have one net force. That net force is directly proportional to, or you can say that is equal to rate of change of momentum. So this is your Newton's second law of motion. All right, now. Suppose the net force acting on the system because of all these forces is equal to 0, then you can say that differentiation of some quantity, some physical quantity is 0. That means what? That physical quantity should be a constant, or we can say a conserved. So when the net force acting on a system is equal to 0, then we can say that the law of conservation of momentum is valid there, or you can say momentum is conserved. What does it mean? Initial momentum before application of these forces, whatever was the momentum, that should be the same as the final momentum. So that's what is called the law of conservation of momentum. Okay. Now what about friction? What is friction? Friction is an opposing force that opposes the tendency of relative motion. This friction is of three types. One is static friction. Static friction. Second one is kinetic friction. Kinetic friction. Third one is rolling friction. All right. Now this is represented by Fs. Okay, and this value is a variable or self-adjusting force. Okay, static friction is a self-adjusting force, so that value lies somewhere in between 0 and some maximum value. That maximum value we can call it as a limiting friction. So this is the maximum friction between any two surfaces. I mean, what are the forces? Let us say there is a mass m here. Okay. So this mass m is at rest, even though you are applying some force F. Okay. The friction between this surface and the mass m is going to be in the opposite direction of the tendency of motion. Because of this applied force, the tendency of this motion will be in the direction of force. So the friction will be in the opposite direction to this tendency of relative motion. Okay. So friction F will be in this direction. And now this surface can offer a maximum friction, that is called limiting friction. Okay. So now this Fs, value of Fs depends upon applied force. If applied force is less than F limiting, then this Fs value will be equal to F applied. Okay. When static friction is going to be equal to the applied force. Okay. If in any case if applied force is more than F limiting, okay, then friction is going to be, static friction is going to be is equal to the limiting friction. Okay, that's about static friction. Whereas kinetic friction is a constant friction. So when the body, let us say there is a surface, rough surface, now there is a mass m. The mass m is actually moving with some velocity v, let us say. Okay, once the mass m is moving, then the friction or you can say the tendency of relative, I mean the frictional force which is responsible is called kinetic friction. Okay. So that friction Fk is equal to mu k times L. By the way, this F limiting is actually fixed value. What is it, F limiting? I'm sorry for that. F limiting is equal to mu s times N. Okay, what is mu s here? Coefficient of static friction. What is in here? Normal reaction. Okay, this normal reaction is equal to mg always. No, it is sometimes mg, sometimes may not be mg. So please remove that kind of thoughts if you are having. Now f limiting is equal to mu s n. N can be varying, but most of the cases it will be mg, but some cases it may not be. Okay, we'll see those kind of cases in this video now. Okay, next fk is equal to mu kn, where mu k is nothing but coefficient of kinetic friction, n is nothing but, yes, normal reaction. Okay, and it's a constant friction. Now what about fr? Rolling friction. Rolling friction, when there is a wheel between the rough surface and mass m. Okay, then of course, let us say it is traveling with this in this direction with some velocity v, then the tendency of opposing force will be in this direction. Okay, so that friction is called rolling friction. All right, so that's it. Here also this is a fixed value, that is actually mu r times n. Now if you see this, let us compare this mu s, mu k, mu n, mu r. Okay, so which value will be more? So we might think that maybe rolling is more or maybe kinetic is more than static, but actually let us have a look at this. Basically, if you have three different bodies, one is at rest, other one is actually in motion, other one is having wheels. So which one is which body is if you want to keep that body into motion, which body will be easy? Yes, keeping this guy, already it's in motion, so moving this guy is relatively easier compared to the other things. Okay, that's why mu r is lesser than mu k, mu s is actually greater than mu k. Okay, so mu s is going to be greater than mu k, and mu k is greater than mu r. Okay, so static, the body which is in rest, and static friction, then static friction will be acting between the two surfaces, and that is going to be the coefficient of static friction value will be more compared to other two coefficients of kinetic and rolling friction. Okay, yes. Now this is the knowledge that you need to have, and remaining everything else can be taken care. Okay, and I hope you know how to apply this free body diagram. Free body diagram is nothing but whenever there is a mass m, maybe there may be many other masses, but we will talk about when we are talking about free body of a particular mass m, let us say, then we will forget about all the other surroundings. Okay, we will show only the forces acting on this. That is what is called as a free body diagram. And remaining laws of motion, first law of motion, second law of motion, third law of motion, which was proposed by our Sir Isaac Newton, I think you know it. Okay, yes. Let us get started with the questions. An object flying in an air with a velocity, okay, this is the velocity, suddenly breaks into two pieces whose masses are in the ratio 1:5. Okay, the smaller mass flies up with this velocity, and the bigger mass velocity will be. That's what the question is. Okay, now let us say there is a flying object. This flying object is having a velocity. Let us say initially the mass is m and it has a velocity u. Okay, now it is actually breaking into two pieces now. Okay, one may be going in one direction, other may be going in the other direction, and those masses are 1:5. So can I say those masses are m/6 and 5m/6? Basically, if you add both of them, you should get this, isn't it? Yes. Now the velocity of this one is say v1, that's given already, and the velocity of the second piece, the higher mass or largest mass, will be what? Okay, this is what you need to find. Now here there is no net external force acting on the system, therefore you can apply law of conservation of momentum. Okay, so law of conservation of momentum means what, ma? Pi is equal to Pf. Initially whatever may be the momentum is there, that should be equal to the final momentum. So initially there is only one mass, and its velocity is u, let us say. Okay, next finally you are having two masses. One mass is m/6, its velocity is going to be v1, and other mass is 5m/6 p2. Okay, let us substitute. So again, let me cancel all these masses. Okay, next let me substitute u. Let us take initial velocity is u, and this one let us call it as v1, and let us find out what is v2. Okay, what is u here? That is 20 I cap plus 25 j cap minus 12 k cap. Very good. Now is equal to 1/6 times What is V1 here? 100 I cap plus 35 J cap plus 8 K cap. All right. Plus 5 by 6 V2. You want to find V2, so let me take this thing to the left hand side. So 5 by 6 V2 is equal to, if I take all the I cap components once, 20 minus 100 by 6 I cap plus 25 minus 35 by 6 J cap. Next 12 minus 12 minus 8 by 6 8 by 6 K cap. Now this is nothing but 6 20s are 120, 120 minus 100 20 I cap plus 6 25s are 150, 150 minus 35 is 115, of course by 6 is there. Okay. J cap divided by 6. Next this is 6 12s are 72 minus 72 minus 8 is nothing but minus 80 by 6 K cap. So that is equal to 5 by 6 V2. So all the 6's can be cancelled. Now if you just cancel this 5 in the right hand with the right hand, then 5 4s are 20, 5 23s are 115, and 5 16s are 80. Okay. So V2 is equal to 4 I cap plus 23 J cap minus 16 K cap. Alright. That's how you apply law of conservation of momentum. Let us see more number of questions on this. An explosion breaks a rock into 3 parts in a horizontal plane. So let's consider the screen is a horizontal plane right now. Let's say there is a rock here, and 2 of them go off at right angles to each other. So let us say one is going in this direction, other one is going in this direction. Okay. The first part of the first part of the mass is 1 kg. Okay, which moves with the velocity or speed with the speed of 12 meter per second. Very good. Now I am taking other second mass of 2 kg along a y-axis direction. So you have to take them 90 degrees to each other. That is the idea. Next, other one will be going in some random direction. That is whose mass you need to find. If the third part flies off with a speed of 4 meter per second, and you need to find its mass. Let us say that is m3. Okay. Now here also there is no net external force acting on the system or the rock. Then you can say that law of conservation of momentum can be applied. So what is that? P initial is equal to P final. Initially the velocity was 0 because the before the explosion rock was in rest. Therefore the initial momentum is equal to 0. Now the momentums for the first one, let us say, is P1. Second one say P2. Third one is a P3. Okay. So you want to find the m3 mass. So let me take P3 is equal to or minus P3 is equal to P1 plus P2. Very good. That's it, no? Yes. What is P1 here? Mass times velocity. 1 kg into 12. 1 into 12, 12 I cap, positive x-axis. Now what about the other mass? That is 2 times 8, 16. 16 plus J cap. Okay. So now you need to find its mass. So let me say that as mass times velocity V3. Okay. So velocity, so he has given the speed actually here. So let me substitute, let me find out everything in terms of magnitudes only. Let me find out the mass magnitude. Magnitude of mass is equal to the square root of, I am finding the magnitude of this guy. That is 12 whole square, 144, 16 whole square, 256 divided by, what is the speed given for the mass, third mass? 4 meter per second. Just keep it aside. Now 144 plus 256 is nothing but 400 under root by 4. Root 400 is nothing but 20, right? 20 by 4. So 4 ones are 4, 5s are 5 meter per, sorry, 5 kg is asking about mass, right? Yes. So what is the answer now? Yes, B. Next one, an explosion, same kind of problem. Okay. So an explosion blows rock into 3 parts. 2 parts go off at right angles to each other. These two are 1 kg. First part moving with velocity 12 meter per second. Second part 2 kg is moving with velocity 8 meter per second. And if the third part flies off with velocity of 4 meter per second, its mass would be. So if you do this problem in the same way, then I think you can do this problem. So the answer will be same problem actually, isn't it? Yes, but it has come two times. So answer is 2 kg. We don't have to do it once again. Yes, yes. Now a 1 kg stationary bomb is exploded into three parts having masses 1s2, 1s3 respectively, having parts having the same mass. I mean this guy and this guy are moving in perpendicular direction with the velocity 30 meter per second. Let us consider. Let us say initially the mass of the bomb is actually m, and that is becoming to three masses. One is when their ratios are 1s2, 1s3. That means let me say this as how many fractions? 1 plus 1 plus 3, 5. So m by 5 is to m by 5 is to 3m by 5. If you add all of them, you should get m. Just check it, you get it. Next, so the masses which are having the same, the parts which are having the same masses, okay, that is m by 5 is actually going with a 30 meter per second. Let's consider it's going along x-axis. Another mass which is also m by 5, that is also going with same speed. Now then the velocity of the bigger part will be, bigger part is actually 3m by 5 na? Yes. So what is the velocity of that guy? Let us say it's going in some random direction, and mass is 3m by 5 and velocity is say v3. That's what you need to find. Actually he's asking about speed, okay, magnitude by the way. Yes. Now initially the bomb was stationary, that means it is at rest. So initial momentum is equal to 0. Final momentum is actually is equal to m by 5 30 I cap, okay, plus m by 5 30 j cap. Next, this mass is 3m by 5 and its velocity is v3, let us say, okay. Now since there is no external force acting on the system, so law of conservation of momentum can be applied. Pi is equal to Pf, so 0 is equal to so let me take a 3m by 5 common in all of them, so that will be equal to 10 I cap plus 10 j cap plus v3. That's it, no? So now you want to find v3. So let me take this 3m by 5 to the other side, that becomes 0. 10 I cap plus 10 j cap is equal to minus v3. So if you find the magnitude of it, then you will get velocity magnitude also, okay. That will be is equal to root 100 plus 10 square 100 again, okay. It's equal to velocity magnitude, okay. So now 100 plus 100, 200. 200 can be written as 10 root 2. That is your velocity of the third body, okay. 10 root 2 meter per second. Yes, clear? Very good. Now a mass of 1 kg is thrown with a velocity of 100 meter per second, okay. So there is a mass of m 1 kg is thrown with a velocity of 100 meter per second. Initially it is having the velocity as 100 meter per second. After 5 seconds, when after t is equal to 5 seconds, it is exploding into two parts. One part is having a mass m1 is equal to 400 grams. Let me say in terms of kg only. So it is 0.4 kg, comes down with a velocity 25 meter per second. Basically it is initially it is going up. That means the mass m is going up. Very good, with velocity 100 meter per second. Very good. After t is equal to 5 seconds, this is exploding into two fragments. One is going to be 0.4 kg with a velocity of 25 meter per second. Let us say v1 is 25 meter per second, and the velocity of the other part is, so he is asking about what about velocity of the other part. Now what about the mass of this guy other part? That will be out of this 1 kg, if you subtract 0.4, then you get mass of the other part, that is 0.6 kg. Very good. Now let us initially what was the momentum? Pi is equal to mass times, mass is 1 kg, 1 kg into 100 meter per second. So it's going to be 100 kg meter per second. Okay, let us keep it aside, and final momentum will be is equal to this guy, 400 grams is actually comes down with the velocity. That means it is coming with the velocity negative j cap. All right. What about this guy? This guy velocity is v3, v2. Let us say. Let us find out the momentum of the system after the explosion. So here m1 is 0.4, its velocity is 25 and minus j cap. Now what about the other mass? 0.6 kg into velocity is v2. Okay. Now it is nothing but 25 fours are 100 by 10 is nothing but 10 minus j cap. Now we can equate both of them. So because I am applying this law of conservation of momentum now, let me write it directly. So that is positive j cap, 100 j cap, okay, 10 into minus j cap plus 0.6 into v2. Okay. So if you just take this to other side, that is 100. By the way, we need to find its velocity. Its velocity will not be 100 anymore. Yeah, that is the problem here. Yeah, sorry. So initially it was traveling with 100 meter per second, but after 5 seconds its velocity will not be the same, because gravitational acceleration will be pulling it down, will be definitely pulling it down. So u will not be the same. So let me find out that u first. Sorry. So you know, we can apply v is equal to e plus at. In time t is equal to 5 seconds, acceleration a is actually dragging this mass m downwards. Okay, a is equal to minus g. If you just apply this, you will get final velocity after 5 seconds. Initial velocity is what? 100 plus j value is minus 10 meter per second square. Okay, minus 10 times time is what? 5. So out of this 100 meter per second, 50 meter per second will be reduced. Okay, so finally it will be 50 meter per second after 5 seconds. So you have to consider that as the velocity. Sorry for that. Yes, so initial momentum will be 50 kg meter per second. Okay, along positive j cap. Very good. So that is the small mistake, otherwise you will get a different answer. You have to be very careful about this. All right. Yes, 50 j cap is equal to 10 minus j cap. So let us take this to other side. Then 0.6 v2 is equal to this will be 50 plus 10, 60 j cap. Now 0.6 when 6 tens are 60, and you are going to have 0.1 here. That 0.1 comes here and becomes 100. So v2 is going to be 100 meter per second along j cap direction. What is the answer now? Option C. All right. Yes. Now a shell in flight explodes into, already this there is a shell actually which is already flying, and that is exploding into four unequal parts. Which of the following is conserved here? So it is nothing but law of conservation of momentum. That's what we have been discussing. Okay, so option B is correct. Next, a man fires a bullet of mass 200 grams. Mass is equal to 0.2 kg. Very good. At a speed, initial speed is actually 5 meter per second. Very good. The gun is of 1 kg mass. Let us say gun mass is actually 1 kg. Very good. By what velocity the gun rebounds backward? Okay, that is a question. Now initially the gun before the gun is firing, then it will be having no velocity. So initial velocity is equal to 0. Therefore momentum initially is going to be 0. Now what about final momentum? Final momentum will be is equal to, basically when the gun is actually firing, let us say the gun is firing the bullet. Okay, so when the bullet will be going in this direction and the gun will be rebounding back in this direction. Okay, let us say the velocity is 5 meter per second. The gun velocity is bullet velocity is 5 meter per second. Its mass is 0.2 kg. Okay, now out of this mass of the gun is 1 kg and it is coming with velocity v, let us say. Okay, now final velocity pf is going to be mass times velocity, that is 0.2 times 5 positive I cap. Very good. Now this mass is going to be 1 kg. Let me not write units here. 1 into velocity is v2. Okay. Now let me apply law of conservation of momentum here. Then I'll get pi is equal to pf. Initial momentum is 0. Final momentum is equal to 5. 0.2s are 5 2s are 10 by 10 1 I cap plus v2. Okay. So v2 is equal to I cap minus I cap whatever. So basically what is this minus I cap is saying about? Yes, the gun will be bouncing back in the negative direction, negative x-axis direction if bullet is going in the positive x-axis direction. That's what is that minus is saying about. And the magnitude of velocity is 1 meter per second. It's a unit vector. Okay, so 1 meter per second is the answer. Clear? Yes. Now next question. A body of mass 5 kg explodes at rest into 3 different fragments. Okay. We have dealt with a similar kind of problem. So the mass ratios is 1:1:3. That means m1:m2:m3 is going to be, whereas initial mass is 5 kg. So that 5 kg will become 1/5:1/5 total fragments is 5. So that's why it is 3/5, and you have to multiply with 5 here, all of them. Okay, so each block will be having a 1:3 only. That means this is 1 kg, this is 1 kg, this is 1 kg. That's the masses of the 3 bodies. Okay, the fragments with equal masses fly in mutually perpendicular directions with speeds. Let us say this guy is actually one guy of 1 kg. He is traveling with 21 meter per second. Another guy is also traveling with 21 meter per second along positive y-axis. Okay, that's also 1 kg only, right? Now the heaviest fragment velocity in terms of meter per second will be, okay, let us say that heavy mass is going to be 3 kg. The 3 kg will be going in the direction of what? Okay, with the velocity of what? So now let us apply law of conservation of momentum. Initially the body was at rest, so initial momentum is going to be 0. So Pa is equal to Pf here. Initial momentum is 0. 1 kg mass into mass times velocity. That is the momentum of the first guy. 1 into 21 I cap. Next one is 1 into 21 J cap plus 3 into V3. So now cancel 3 in all of them. 3 7s are here. Okay. So now V3 is going to be equal to minus 7 I cap minus 7 J cap, and if you find the magnitude of it, it will be 722 meter per second, isn't it? Option A will be correct. Very good. Next, a particle moving with velocity v is acted by 3 forces as shown by the vector triangle PQR. Okay, the velocity of the particle will be, okay. So basically here, if you consider, if you just move a vector, moving a vector is not a crime, you can always do that. Okay, so P vector is in this direction, I am moving this Q vector in this direction, and R vector, P vector is this, Q vector is actually this, Q vector is this, and R vector is this. Okay, so both of all these three together are forming a complete triangle. Then we can say that the net force acting on the system, let us, there is a mass m here, so net force acting on this guy will be 0. F net will be 0. If F net is equal to 0, we can say that momentum is also 0. Momentum is constant. Momentum is constant. Then mass times velocity is a constant. Therefore, velocity of the particle should be remaining constant. All right. Yes. Next. Here there are 3 forces acting on a body which are shown in the figure. Okay, to have the resultant force only along y direction, the magnitude of the minimum additional force needed is, basically here he wants to have only the motion along y direction. Okay, that means what? All the horizontal forces should be equal to 0. But before getting into that thing, let me just try to solve this problem. Let me just minimize the steps. Okay, so here 4 newtons and 2 newtons are acting in opposite directions. So let me take this 2 Newton force and let me draw it here, so that it will become minus 2 Newton here. So effective force in this direction will be 2 Newtons only. So instead of 4 Newtons, I can take 2 Newtons only. 4 minus 2 is 2 Newtons, isn't it? So now if you just look at this, 2 Newtons and 1 Newton, both of them are actually acting in these directions. Okay. Now let me take the components of this guy. 1 Newton. Okay. The horizontal component. If this is 60, this will also be 60. The component which is in contact with the main vector is going to be cos term. Contact cos. So the component which is in contact will get a cos term. Please remember this. That's how you can resolve into components. Okay. Main magnitude of this vector is 1 times cos 60. This is going to, other component is going to be sin 60, isn't it? 1 sin 60. Of course, we don't need to worry about this vertical forces here. We need to take only horizontal forces and we have to equate them to 0. Okay. So next, here this 2 Newton force will be having two components. One will be in this direction, other one will be in this direction. So if this is 30, this will also be 30. If this is 30, this will be 60. So let me say this as 2 times cos 60 and 2 times sin 60. Forget about these vertical cases, so we have to worry about only this. So this 2 cos 60 is what now? Cos 60 is nothing but let me write it here only. 2 cos 60 is actually 1 by 2. Okay, so 1 Newton force is acting in this direction, and here also we are going to have 1 into cos 60 is what? 1 by 2. Okay, so 1 by 2 Newton force is acting in this direction. Now the net force should be acting in this body in such a way that I am going to have the net velocity is 0 is 1 minus 1 by 2. So that is the net force acting horizontally. 1 by 2 Newtons acting in the negative x direction. If you apply this much of force, you can have, if you apply this much of force in the opposite direction with the 1 by 2 Newton force in the opposite direction, then you can have only vertical y direction motion only. Therefore, you have to apply this much of force. What is that? 0.5 Newtons. Answer is C. Is it clear? Yes. Next, which one of the following statements is incorrect? So here we have discussed about friction already. Rolling friction is smaller than sliding friction. Sliding friction is nothing but kinetic friction. So rolling friction, if you have seen that rolling friction is actually smaller than kinetic friction. So this is correct. He is asking about incorrect statement. Alright. Limiting value of static friction is directly proportional to normal reaction. Yes, F limiting is directly proportional to normal reaction, and that proportionality constant will be mu s times n. Mu s is actually the coefficient, proportionality constant here. Very good. Now frictional force opposes the relative motion. Yes, of course, that is the actual definition of friction. Frictional force always opposes the relative motion of the body. Very good. Next, the coefficient of sliding friction. What is the coefficient of sliding friction? Fk is equal to mu k times n. So this mu k, mu s and mu r will not have any dimensions actually, but he is saying that it will have the length dimension. So that is wrong now. So option D is correct, which is incorrect. Okay. Next. Now we are going to have a plank with a box on it. At one end is gradually raised at the about the other end. Okay, so basically this is the plank, and you are actually keep on increasing this height. Okay, that means you are increasing the theta. Okay, yes. Now as the angle of inclination with the horizontal reaches 30 degrees, now let us say theta is equal to 30 degrees, the box starts to slip and slides 4 meters down the plank in 4 seconds. Okay, so in 4 seconds, t is equal to 4 seconds, the plank starts to slides down. Okay, the coefficient of static and kinetic frictions will between the box and the plank will be respectively. So basically this problem is going to be if you start doing this problem, it will take very much a long time, but let me tell you normal way. So if you calculate mu s and mu k, that's what is asking for, but it will take a long time on the lengthy calculations, but in your NEET exam you are not going to have that much of time. Okay. Now generally So when you are having mg here, mg force acting downwards, there will be two components for this. One is along the plane, other one is perpendicular to the plane. Okay, this will be if this is theta, let me take this as I mean this will also be theta, alternative angles. Okay, if this is theta, then this will be 90 minus theta and this will be theta again. Okay, because this angle is 90, this angle is 90, so theta 90 minus theta, and this will also be again 90. So 90 minus 90 minus theta is going to be theta. Okay, that is how this will be mg cos theta. This component will be mg sin theta. Mg sin theta will be the responsible force which is trying to drag it downwards. Very good. Now the friction tries to oppose this force, so that's why frictional force will be acting in this direction. Okay. Yes. Now if I just find out this friction generally is equal to mu times n. Okay, let us say mu is the coefficient of friction here. Okay, yes. Now let us find out F limiting. F limiting is equal to mu s times n. Okay. So where is your normal reaction here? This is where the contact is. So the normal reaction will be perpendicular to that, normal to the surface. So that will be your n. Now what is your mu s? Let us keep it as mu s only. And what is n here? N is equal to, when here there is no motion in this direction, that means what? Normal reaction and mg cos theta will be balancing each other. Normal reaction and mg cos theta will be balancing each other, mu s times mg cos theta. Okay, very good. Now let us keep this aside for the time being. But the angle we know, when the angle is actually 30 now, so let me take this as cos 30. Cos 30 is equal to root 3 by 2, root 3 by 2 mu s mg. So now you can keep it aside. That is your limiting friction. Okay. Now what about your kinetic friction? So let me just let us assume that beyond this theta, first of all I need to find what is the angle beyond which this body will be in motion. So that is what is called as angle of friction. Angle of friction tan theta is equal to mu s. Okay, theta is equal to tan inverse of mu s. Okay, just a minute. This just a minute. Sorry. He has given the angle. Angle is 30 degrees. So tan 30 is equal to mu s. So tan 30 is equal to 1 by root 3. That means what? Mu s. Mu s is going to be 1 by root 3 value is 0.577. That is nearly equal to 0.6. So one value you already have got. What is that mu s value? That is 0.6. So option C or D can be correct. But one thing surely we can say that mu s is always greater than mu k. So mu s and mu k cannot be equal here. So therefore option D will be correct. Of course, if you go through this method, it will take a long time and you cannot solve this problem within a given time, 1 minute. Okay. Yes. Let us go ahead. Next, a system consists of 3 masses m1, m2, m3 connected by a string passing over a pulley. Okay, this is the pulley now. The masses m1 hangs freely and m2 and m3 are on a rough horizontal table. So there is a friction here. Okay, coefficient of friction is m for this surface. Okay. Now the pulley is frictionless and the pulley is frictionless, so you don't have to worry about friction between this thread and the pulley. Very good. And it's a negligible mass. Next, the downward acceleration of m1 is, assuming that m1 is equal to m2 is equal to m3. So basically you have to apply a free body diagram here. That will be m1g acting here, and tension T always acting away from the body. Here tension T, let us say this is T1, let us say this is T2. So T2 here and T2 here for this body, and here T1, and that's it. So if you take all these guys, and the friction will be, so basically this mass m1 is trying to drag, try to go down. Okay, so acceleration will be in this direction. So acceleration of these m2 and m3 will also be in this direction. So fine. Now tendency of motion is in this direction, therefore the friction will be acting in this direction here. Let us say this is F, that is also F. Okay. Now The problem is it's not I mean, you can apply all these cases and you can find out you can apply F net is equal to ma for this mass, for this mass, for this mass. Then you have to solve all of them. It will take long time. Let us try to do it with a trick here. All right. So now frictions will be acting in this direction. Okay, what is the friction here? That is mu times mg. So all the masses are m only, so I am taking mu times mg here, and there is a mu times mg here. And what is the force acting on this? I mean m1g. So tensions are internal forces. So for this trick you can forget about internal forces. Now let me just take all these masses and keep it on a table. Okay, let us say this is mass m1, which is equal to m, and another two masses which are on the table. I am drawing it here. Okay, what are the forces acting on it? Net force acting on it. So on this guy mu mg, on this guy also mu mg. Both of them are in the same direction. So let me show that mu mg plus mu mg, 2 mu mg in this direction, and other force is actually in the opposite direction. If you can take this mass m1 and keep it on the table, then this guy will be having an force in the opposite direction to this mu mg. All right. Yes. So this is your m1g, or we can say mg, because mass is equal to m only. Okay, so now the acceleration he is asking for. Acceleration A is equal to net force divided by net mass or total mass. Okay, what is the net force acting on the system? I mean, I am considering this whole I mean all these masses as a single system right now. What is the net force acting on it? 2 mu mg is in one direction and mg is in the other direction. So let me consider this I mean acceleration direction. Acceleration will be in this direction now. So now mg minus 2 mu mg divided by, what is the total mass? M plus m plus m. That is the net mass, 3m. Okay, if I take mg common, 1 minus 2 mu I get, divided by 3m. This m, the term gets cancelled. Acceleration A is equal to g times 1 minus 2 mu by 3. Okay, which option is correct here? Option C. Alright, yes. Next, the upper half of an inclined plane of inclination theta is perfectly smooth, while the lower half is rough. So if I consider there is an inclined plane whose length is say L, I am considering this length is CL. Okay, very good. Now the upper half, that means till L by 2 length, it's a smooth one. Okay, that's a smooth surface, and remaining L by 2, it's a rough surface which has a coefficient of friction. Okay, yes, a block starts block starting from rest. Initially the block is at rest. Okay, because of this mg sin theta term that we have discussed already, this block starts sliding. So since there is no friction here, it will slide, it can slide freely till here, and the friction starts acting on this block M once it starts moving beyond this L by 2 length. Okay, very good. Now the a block starting from rest at the top of the plane will again come to rest. When it reaches here, again it will come to rest. Okay, very good. Okay, at the bottom, if the coefficient of friction between the block and the lower half of the plane is given by, so when it reaches this lower half of the block, what is the coefficient of friction? That is the question. All right. Now for this problem, we can take a work energy theorem. Help of work energy theorem. Of course, we can take we can do this using free body diagram by applying F net is equal to ma, and that will take a lengthy time. So we need to complete this problem within a given 1 minute time. Okay, so that's why we use work energy theorem. What is work energy theorem? Yes, the work done by all the forces is equal to the change in kinetic energy. Okay, now what are the forces acting on this guy? So basically one is going to be gravitational force, work done by gravitational force, and what is the work done? Is there any other work done? Work done by friction. Here in this region, from here till L by 2, work done on the mass by the friction or the during the smooth surface is going to be 0. So you don't have to worry about this one. You have to worry about only this one. Okay. So that has to be equal to change in kinetic energy. Initially the block is at rest. That's what has been mentioned here. Where is that? Yes, initially the block was at rest, and again it is reaching to the rest. That means initial velocity is 0, final velocity is also 0. That means what? Kinetic energy initial and final equal to 0. There is no change in kinetic energy anymore, so you can equate to 0. What is the work done by the gravitational force? So initially, what is the work? It is actually that gravitational force will be stored as a potential energy in the system. So what is that? Mg times the height. So if this is L, this is theta. So this L will be L sin theta here, and this will be L cos theta anyway. So let's not worry about that. Now this is M times Mg is the weight, and L sin theta. You can say mgh will be the potential energy. That potential energy will be stored as, that is the potential energy this block has got because of this height L sin theta. Alright. Plus, what is the work done by the friction? So here, if you consider the block is here, okay, the block is moving in this direction because of what force? There will be two forces acting on it. One is mg cos theta in this direction, and mg sin theta in this direction. And now to stop this mg sin theta, there will be friction acting in this direction. Okay. So now friction will be acting in this direction, but displacement is in this direction. Okay, that's why you get minus extra here. Okay. So what is the work done? Work done is equal to force times displacement. Of course, force dot displacement vector. Or you can write it as Fs cos theta. So what is F here? F is equal to frictional force. So that is nothing but mg sin theta. Mu mg sin theta, na? Oh, sorry. Wait. This is mg cos theta. Normal reaction will be n. Okay, normal reaction and mg cos theta will be balancing each other because there is no motion in that direction, and the friction is nothing but mu times n. So I told you n is always not equal to mg, so this is mg cos theta here. Mu mg cos theta, that is the friction. Very good. Now work done by the frictional force during the second half of it is going to be, force is mu mg cos theta. Alright, now what is the displacement? That is L by 2, and angle between them is one is in this direction, displacement is in this direction, force is in the opposite direction, that's why 180 degrees. Okay, cos 180 minus 1 equal to 0. Now let me take this as mgl sin theta. This is also capital M, sorry, mu capital Mg. This cos 180 is nothing but minus 1 minus mu mg cos theta L by 2 equal to 0. So here mgl. Now sin theta is equal to mu times cos theta by 2. Okay, so mu is equal to sin theta by cos theta tan theta, and this 2 also goes to the other side. That becomes mu is equal to 2 tan theta. Is that what he is asking for? He is asking about the coefficient of friction between the block and the lower half of the plane. So mu is equal to tan theta. Alright. Yes. A conveyor belt is moving at a constant speed of 2 meters per second. Let me drink some water. Let us say there is a conveyor belt. Okay, let us say conveyor belt is actually moving at a constant speed 2 meters per second. Let us say the conveyor belt is moving with 2 meters per second in this direction. A box is gently dropped on it. Let us say box mass is actually m. Okay. Now the coefficient of friction between them is actually 0.5. Very good. The distance that the box will move relative to the belt before coming to rest on it is. So he is asking about how much distance the box will travel. Okay, relative to the belt. That means on the belt how much distance it will travel. That is a question. Okay. Now basically, so it is going to the belt is keep on moving in this direction, but friction tries to stop this mass m. So friction will be acting in the opposite direction. Okay. So friction will be acting in the opposite direction. Then now what about the acceleration? Acceleration will be is equal to acceleration, or you can say the retardation here. A is actually a retardation here because the friction is trying to stop this, or you can say the friction is trying to decelerate the body, and I mean trying to keep it on the rest. Okay, retardation is equal to net force acting on the mass divided by the net total mass. Okay, what is the total force acting on it? There is only one force, that is friction, divided by mass m. But here, what is the friction here? Friction is going to be, there will be gravitational force mg downwards and normal reaction acting upwards. Okay, this normal reaction and mg will be balancing each other since there is no motion in that direction. Very good. The friction F is equal to mu times n. What is mu here? Mu is equal to 0.5 or 1 by 2, and n is equal to mg. Let me say this is mu mg. I am going to give you the generalized expression right now. Mu times mg divided by m is your acceleration. We should say retardation. And now let me call this as, let me take minus here because it is trying to decrease the velocity. Okay, m and m gets cancelled. A is equal to minus mu g. So this is very much important relation. For the upcoming problems also we will be using this. But in the problem he has given mu value, that is 0.5 minus 0.5 times g value. I am taking g value as 10. So A is equal to 0.5 times 10 is nothing but 5 minus 5 meter per second square is the acceleration, or you should say retardation is 5 meter per second square. That means what? In every 1 second, I mean let me rewrite this as minus 5 meter per second. In 1 second it is going to stop, it is going to oppose velocity of 5 meter per second. In every 1 second 5 meter per second is going to be reduced. That is the idea. Okay. Now what is asking for? The distance. So let us use s is equal to ut plus half meter square, but time information is not there. So we can take v square minus u square is equal to 2as. What is your final velocity? Final velocity will become 0 because you want to stop it. Okay, you want to keep that at rest. Next, initial velocity is what, amma? Initial velocity will be the velocity of the conveyor belt only, so that will be 2 meter per second only. What about acceleration? The retardation or deceleration, that is minus 5 meter per second square. That's it. Just substitute all of them, you will get the value of s. V square 0, u square 4 is equal to 2 times acceleration minus 5 times s. What is s here? That's what you need to find. Minus 4 is equal to minus 10 into s. Okay, minus minus gets cancelled. S is equal to 4 by 10, 0.4 meters. Which option is correct here? A. Clear? Yes. Now this problem is also very much easy and interesting. Let's see. So till now you have seen the friction acting only along horizontal direction. We are going to see the friction will be vertical here. See, a block of mass m is in contact with a cart C. Okay, as shown in the figure, the coefficient of friction between the block and the cart is say mu. This has been given. Okay, the acceleration alpha of the cart that will prevent the block from falling satisfies. So basically, you need to find the acceleration. Where now, just have a look at this. This cart is being accelerated with an acceleration alpha. Now, what is that value in terms of when related to your m, g, and mu? That's what is the question. Okay. Now here, this block m will be experiencing a force of gravitation, that is mg downwards. Okay. Normal reaction, whenever there's from the contact, it will be 90 degrees. Okay, normal. Okay. So this will be your normal reaction. And is there any other force acting on the system? Yes. So if suppose this n and just a minute. Yeah. So if you look at this mg is actually always trying to drag it downwards. And here one more thing, this alpha is acting in this direction, means this mass m is going to experience acceleration in the opposite direction. That acceleration is called pseudo acceleration, and the force will be this mass times acceleration alpha. m alpha. This m alpha is nothing but a pseudo force. What is that? Pseudo force. This pseudo force is actually I mean physically doesn't exist, but this mass only can feel this much of force. Okay. So now so this is m alpha, and this m alpha and n should be balancing each other so that it doesn't fall down. So you want this block m should not be falling down. Okay, n and m alpha will be balancing each other. Very good. Now friction. So I mean this mg is trying to drag it downwards, there should be a friction here. So to oppose this relative motion, so box m or block m is actually trying to fall down. So oppose this relative motion of the body, it will try to act in the opposite direction. So friction will come into picture in this direction. Alright, yes. So that friction will be, should be either greater than or equal to mg. If it is more or equal to, then only it will be able to hold this block m here. Otherwise, if it is less than, if friction is less than mg, then definitely this block m will definitely fall down. Okay, we don't want that to happen, so f will be greater than or equal to mg. Now, what is your friction? Friction f is equal to mu times n. Here n is equal to m alpha. Okay, let me take that friction, which is equal to mu times m alpha, which is greater than or equal to mg. That m and this m gets cancelled. Alpha will be greater than or equal to, let me take this mu to the other side. Alpha will be greater than or equal to g by mu. Which option is correct? Option C. Clear now? Yes. The next question. A block B is pushed momentarily along a horizontal surface with the initial velocity v. Okay. So initially the body is having velocity v. Initial velocity is v. If coefficient of friction is mu for the sliding friction, okay, between the block and the surface. Okay, here it is mu. Very good. Now the block will come to rest after a time. So same information. So here mu is the coefficient of friction, then the retardation is going to be minus mu g. I don't have to derive it once again, isn't it? Now he is asking sliding friction, the block will come to rest after a time. He is asking about the time right now. Okay, so time is asking about. So you can use final velocity will become 0 because finally it has to come to rest. Final velocity is 0, initial velocity So you can use v is equal to u plus at equation. What is v? Final velocity is 0, initial velocity is v plus acceleration minus mu g into time t. So v is equal to mu g t. Is asking about time. Time is equal to v by mu g. Alright. T is equal to v by g mu. Option D is correct. Next, the coefficient of friction Ms between the block A and mass 2 kg is shown in the figure. That is mu is equal to 0.2 here. Okay, what would be the maximum value of block B? What is the maximum mass value of block B, so that the blocks do not move? Okay, these two blocks should not be moving. Okay, that's what you want. So now, what will be the mass of this guy? The string and pulley are assumed to be smooth and massless. Okay, so here this pulley will not have any friction bringing into picture. Okay, now let us try to take free body diagrams for these masses. A body is actually of 2 kg. What are the forces acting on this guy? This B will be trying to drag it downwards, so that's why frictional force will be acting. Acceleration will be, relative motion will be in this direction, but anyway it will be 0. Okay, that's what you don't want them to move. So here also acceleration will be in this direction, but equal to 0. So here tendency of motion is in this direction, so friction will be acting in the opposite direction. And there is a string here. Whenever there is a string, there is the tension. Tension T always away from the body. Are there any other force acting on the system? Yes, 2g downwards. Normal reaction n. So there is no motion along vertical direction, so n and 2g will be balancing each other. So normal reaction will be 20 newtons. The friction will be is equal to mu times n. What is mu here? 0.2. And what is your normal reaction? 20 newtons. So basically it's 2 by 10, 10 2s are 10 2s are 20, so 2 2s are 4 now. That's it now. So F is equal to 4 newtons. So this is the friction. Now if I you want them to be, I mean if you apply F net is equal to ma for this block along horizontal direction, so let's consider acceleration is equal to a in this direction, which is equal to 0. So tension T is in the acceleration direction, minus F is in the opposite direction. Whatever the forces which are acting in the direction of acceleration will get plus. So that's why T plus F in the opposite direction minus is equal to mass times acceleration. F net is equal to ma. Acceleration anyway 0, so here T should be equal to F because right hand side is 0. Keep it as equation 1. Okay, and you know that F is equal to 4 newtons, so tension will also be 4 newtons here. Okay, now what about the force acting on this guy? Mg downwards, okay, tension T upwards away from the body. Okay, and now you don't want this also to be moving, so let me apply F net is equal to ma here also. Mg is in the direction of acceleration, minus T is equal to mass times acceleration 0. Alright, so Mg value is let us take 10 has given this. Okay, tension T is equal to 4 newtons, so mass should be 0.4 kg. Okay, that is the answer. Clear? Yes. Now a block of mass 10 kg is placed on a rough horizontal surface, okay, having a coefficient of friction 0.5. If horizontal force of let us say there is a block M here and you are applying a force of 100 newtons and the coefficient of friction is 0.5 and this mass is actually 10 kg. Very good. If a horizontal force of 100 newton acting on it, then acceleration of the block will be, what will be the acceleration of this guy? Okay. Friction will be acting in this direction, in the opposite direction. Okay, so now let me apply F net is equal to ma. So basically this acceleration will be in this direction. So if I apply F net is equal to ma, so 100 newton is acting in the direction of acceleration, so plus friction is acting in the opposite direction is equal to mass is 10 kg, acceleration here that you don't know, but friction you know, isn't it? Friction is equal to mu times n. So here mg will be acting downwards and mg will be is equal to 10 times that of g value. G value is let us check 10. Okay, 10 tens are 100 newtons is the gravitational force that should be balancing your normal reaction. So normal reaction is equal to 100 newtons. Okay, so what is the friction here? 0.5 and normal reaction is 100 newtons. Okay, so 50, I mean 5 hundreds are 500, 0.5 hundreds are 50. 50 newtons is the friction force right now. 100 minus 50 is equal to 10 times that of A. I'm substituting this F here. That's it, no? 100 minus 50, 50 is equal to 10A. 10 ones are 10 fives are. A is equal to 5 meters per second square. Option B is correct. Clear? Next, on the horizontal surface of a truck, let's consider there is a truck here. Okay, the truck is actually moving in this direction. On the horizontal surface of a truck, a block of mass m is mass of 1 kg is placed. Now the coefficient of friction between these two surfaces is 0.6 and truck is moving with an acceleration of 5 meters per second square. Okay, the frictional force on the block will be. So this is very nice question. Let us have a look at this. So basically the truck is moving in this direction, that means 1 kg block will be experiencing an acceleration in this direction, which is called pseudo acceleration, 5 meters per second square, and 5 meters per second square times the mass is nothing but the pseudo force acting on this guy. Very good. Now let us find out what are the forces acting on it, and he is asking about the frictional force on the block will be. So the relative motion is in this direction, so now friction will be acting in this opposite direction, so F here. Okay, what about F? How to find F? Mg is acting downwards, that is 1 times G, that is equal to 10 newtons, and that has to be balanced by your normal reaction. Let me say N dash. Okay, F is equal to mu times N dash. What is mu here? 0.6. N dash is equal to 10. So 0.6 into 10 is nothing but 6 newtons. This is the frictional force. Alright. So this is the maximum friction this surface can offer. But that is not the answer. Please be very careful about this. Okay. This guy is trying to move from this. So now if I apply F net is equal to ma here. Acceleration is in this direction. Therefore, friction will be acting in this direction. All right. So what is F net here? F net is equal to, just a minute. Let us find out the pseudo force here. Sorry. Let us find out what is pseudo force here. The pseudo force is equal to mass times this acceleration. What is the mass here? That is 1 kg and 5 meter per second square. That is 5 newtons. Pseudo force actually is acting 5 newtons. So here just let us see the beauty of this friction is F applied will be the pseudo force. Pseudo force is only responsible for this body to move in the for the motion. Okay, that is F applied is equal to pseudo force. Pseudo force that is equal to 5 newtons. Now if you see this applied force is less than F limiting, and this friction is actually limiting friction, the maximum friction that the surface can offer. Okay. So I have told you, if applied force is less than the limiting force, then the friction is going to be static friction. That F static is going to be equal to the applied force only. That applied force is equal to what here? The pseudo force, that is equal to 5 newtons. Okay, if suppose this applied force is more, this applied force is more than this limiting friction. Limiting friction is what? 6 newtons here. Then it would have been the friction supposed to be equal to the limiting friction only. Okay. Yes. So that's why answer is 5 newtons. Don't get confused. It's very easy and very much clear. Next, a block has been placed on an inclined plane with a slope of angle theta. Okay. Yes. The block slides down the plane at constant speed. So let us say this block M is actually keep on sliding down with a constant speed V, which is constant. Alright. Okay. The coefficient of friction, kinetic friction, is what? So basically here this guy is going to have one force mg here downwards. It will have two components, that will be mg cos theta here, if this is theta, and this will be mg sin theta. Mg sin theta is trying to draw this take this block downwards, but to oppose this motion the friction will come into picture. That will be your friction. Okay, what is the friction now? Friction is equal to mu times n. So here so normally action and mg cos theta will be balancing each other because there is no motion in that direction. Alright. What is mu here? Nothing has a mu. So let us say that's what you need to find, mu and mg cos theta. That's your friction. Okay. Now you need to find that will be your fk. Now let me apply F net is equal to ma here. F net is equal to ma. So here acceleration, velocity is in this direction, so let's consider acceleration also in that direction. Okay. So mg sin theta will be positive since it is in the direction of motion, and this friction will be in the opposite direction. That's why that is equal to mass times acceleration. What is the acceleration here? Acceleration is equal to rate of change of velocity. No, if velocity itself is a constant, velocity is a constant here. Okay, so velocity is constant, so acceleration will be 0. Differentiation of a constant, 0. Okay. So here mg sin theta should be balancing your f. What is f here? Mu mg cos theta. Alright, this g, that g gets cancelled, and this m, that m gets cancelled. Now you want mu is equal to sin theta by cos theta, which is equal to tan theta. Alright, which option is correct? Option D. Next, consider a car moving along a straight horizontal road with a speed of 72 km per hour. Okay, let's consider there is a car here. Okay. Let's say it's moving with the velocity 72 km per hour. Very good. If the coefficient of static friction between the tires and the road is actually, when it is at rest, mu is going to be 0.5. Okay, the shortest distance in which the car can be stopped is, so generally if you find out, I hope you remember the retardation because of this friction is going to be a is equal to minus mu g. Okay, what is mu here? Mu is equal to 0.5 and g is equal to 10. 0.5 is a 0.5 10s are nothing but minus 5 meter per second square. That is your retardation. Very good. Now what is the shortest distance in which the car can be stopped? Okay, so here initial velocity is u is equal to 72 km per hour. Let me convert this into in SI units. Okay, if you want to convert the kilometer per hour into meter per second, then you just have to multiply with 5 by 18. 18 ones are 18 fours are, isn't it? 18 fours are 72. So 5 fours are 20 meter per second. That is the initial velocity. Very good. Now let us find out what is the distance, minimum distance that it will stop. Okay, so now you take v square minus u square is equal to 2as. Final velocity 0 because it has to stop. Initial velocity 20 meter per second, that means 20 whole square 400. Acceleration minus 5, yes, displacement yes, minus 400 is equal to minus 10 times yes. Minus minus gets cancelled here. 10 ones are 10, 40s are 400. Okay, yes will be is equal to 40 meters. All right, yes. Now a heavy uniform chain lies on a horizontal table top. Now this question is going to be very much interesting. Let us see. Okay, so let us say there is a chain. Let me check. Let me take chain here like this. Okay, so it is staying on a table now. Okay, now the question is when a heavy uniform chain lies on a horizontal tabletop, if the coefficient of friction between the chain and the table is 0.25. Very good. The maximum fraction of the length of the chain that can hang over on one edge of the table. Let us say if this guy is actually hanging like this, let us say some fraction is on this table and other fraction is actually, let us say, is hanging like this. So now because of mg it will try to fall down, but because of friction it will try to stay back there. Okay, so now this guy should not fall down. That means for this frictional force and gravitational force should be balancing each other, isn't it? Let us find out what is this case now. Okay, he's asking what is maximum fraction of length of the chain that can hang over on one edge of the table. Okay, let us see. So now let's consider the total length of the chain is L. Now part of it is actually hanging. Let me say that as y. So out of L, y is actually hanging down. So what is this length now? L minus y. All right. Now what will be the gravitational force acting on this guy? That is Fg will be is equal to mg. But here the mass is not m. Let us say originally, let us say the mass is capital M for this guy. So what is the mass actually hanging that? So he said that uniform chain. That means mass density is same. Linear mass density. What is linear mass density? That is mass per total length. Okay, that should be uniform. Now you want to find only this much mass. That much mass you can get small m is equal to lambda times whatever the length it is having. That is y. All right. What is lambda here? M by L into y. So gravitational force F is equal to Fg is equal to mu by L into y. That is the mass which is hanging. I hope you understand. Into G. Okay. Now what about the frictional force? Frictional force will be acting in this direction. Now frictional force. So there will be mg here, but that mg, let me say that is m dash g, and normal reaction will be acting in the opposite direction, upwards. Okay. Normal reaction and m dash g will be balancing each other, And what about this m dash? Here again, so the mass which is there on this guy is nothing but m dash is equal to lambda times the length of it, that is lambda L minus y. Okay, what is the lambda here? M by L times L minus y. This is the mass which will be hanging on the table. Okay, I mean standing on the table, staying on the table. N will be is equal to m dash will be equal to m by L into L minus y into g. Now this friction, this mg, or you can say m by L into L minus y into g, will be balancing this normal reaction. Okay, yes. Now the frictional force F is equal to mu n. So that is mu into m by L into L minus y into g. All right. So now both of them should be balancing each other. So let me say this as equation 1. Let me say this as equation 2. What did I say? This friction and Fg should be balancing each other so that the chain will not fall down, or it will hang over on one edge of the table. Okay. So F is equal to Fg. Let me take them. M by L into y to g is equal to mu times m by L into L minus y into g. M by L, g, g. Okay. Now y is equal to mu into L minus y, isn't it? I want y on one side, so it is equal to mu L minus mu y. So if I take mu y to other side, then I can take y common. 1 plus mu you should get is equal to mu times L. Okay. So y is the part which is hanging below the table. Y is equal to mu L by 1 plus mu. Okay. This is the actually expression. But now he has given mu value. What is mu value here? Mu is equal to 0.25. Okay. Let me just write it here. Y is equal to mu L 0.25 into L divided by 1 plus 0.25. Can I write as 1.25? Yes. So this is the 25. 5s are 125. So y is equal to L by 5. So he is asking about the fraction. Out of total length L, y is what actually is hanging down. That's equal to 1 by 5. He is asking about percentage now. Multiply with 100. 5 ones are 5, 20s are. So it's nothing but 20%. Option A is correct. Clear now? Yes. So now let me stop it here, and we'll continue the remaining questions in the next 2 sessions probably. If possible, I'll make it 1. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and if you like the video, please do like the video and share it to your friends, and please do not forget to subscribe the channel so that I get motivation to do many such videos. Thank you very much for your kind attention. See you guys in the next session.